Good morning, traders. How are we doing today? Thank you so much for being here and tuning in. My name is Jason Krutzky. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys this morning. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. And more importantly, the reason for the season, why we are here this morning. Happy CPI Day to everybody. I don't know if it's going to be a happy day, but happy CPI Day to you guys. For those of you who are not yet caught up, let's do a quick refresher of where we're at. First of all, we had a heck of a January, did we not? I mean, since the start of January, you've got the SPY up 9%. You've got the IWM up 11%. You've got the Qs up almost 16%. And this was in part due to expectations that the Fed would be pivoting away from its policy of aggressive rate hikes at some point this year. Now, is this going to happen ultimately? Nobody really knows. Some of the data that has been coming out recently is kind of suggesting that maybe this is not the case. This particular CPI report does seem to have traders and speculators, investors, a bit more on their toes than the last one. And why is that? Well, the first reason is because of the last jobs report. I'm sure you guys know the last jobs report came in super hot, hotter than expected. It's a strong labor market out there. So that's not really what the Fed is after, right? If the labor market is strong, it can handle interest rate hikes. The next thing, there was a recent revision to last month's CPI number, revised up, showed inflation was actually hotter than expected. Not good. We've got gas prices 10% higher than they were last month. And I was also reading this morning that recently there was a bounce in used vehicle prices and in medical care services. So all these things are things that are not great if you're looking for the Fed to reverse their stance on their inflation rate hikes, right? Strong jobs, higher inflation numbers, they do not help with the idea of a Fed pivot. So let's talk about estimates then. Estimates for today. Again, I know somebody was asking in the chat, what time is the announcement? The announcement is going to be in half an hour, actually in 28 minutes from now. It's 8:30 Eastern time, depending on where you guys are in the world, but 28 minutes from now. Estimates, Morgan Stanley says 6.2, Wells Fargo says 6.2, JP Morgan says 6.2, Bank of America 6.1. And the list goes on with numbers ranging anywhere from 6.1 to 6.7, with consensus being at 6.2. This is 0.5% higher month over month. It's a 0.5% increase month over month from the headline index, or for the headline index, and a 0.4% increase month over month for the core. So core excludes food prices and energy prices. So I'm going to kick it over to you guys in chat. I'm curious to know what y'all's thoughts are on this. Are you concerned about this particular CPI print? Do you think it's going to have a huge effect on markets? Do you think it's going to have no effect at all? Do you think it's going to be higher than expected, lower than expected, in line? What are your thoughts? I want to hear from you. I also am curious to know, you guys, if any of y'all have been here with me before. I always want to get to know folks and find out, where you guys live in. How's the weather this morning? What are you trading this morning? Are you trading? Are you going to trade this move? Or are you going to let it kind of play out and see what happens once the market opens? I want to know everything you guys got planned today. So how is everyone? Are you all doing well? And what's your plan for today? How are you going into the market today? What's up, Samuel? What's up, Greg? What's up, RSR? Dawson? How's it going, man? Good to see you. Robert, what's up, buddy? Good morning. Julie and Chris, how are you guys? Great to have you here. It's a pleasure to have you here. So honored that you guys would wake up early this morning and join me. Hopefully it's not too early for y'all. Maria, how's it going? Good morning. Watching from Argentina. It's not as early for you as it is for me. What time is it there in Argentina right now? It's probably like lunchtime maybe? Or no, it's not lunchtime. I bet it's like 10 a.m. maybe for you. 11 a.m. 10 a.m. Nice. I was right. Well, good late morning to you. Excited to watch this with you guys. How's it going, Phil? Good to see you. Thank you, sir. Chris? Few stocks on your radar. What are you watching, Chris? Yeah, what are we trading today? Are you guys trading index ETFs? Are you guys trading individual names? 8:05 p.m. in Thailand. Very cool. I have a small position in Google myself. Kind of feel like Google might be due for a bounce here. You're watching AMD, PLTR. PLTR just had earnings, right? Yesterday, they had a nice little earnings move. Where are they at this morning? Oh, yeah, and they held it too so far. That's nice to see. So many earnings results. The initial result comes out and they push it higher, and then by the next day, pre-market, you're back to where you started from. So that's good to see that they're holding it. SPY maybe. Nice pattern coming in on Apple. Let's take a look at Apple. Haven't looked at... I know Apple was super strong yesterday. Oops. Oh, what am I doing? Yeah, I mean, undeniable strength over an Apple here, for sure. They certainly appear to be setting things up to look like they're going to rip it. All this talk about recession. Have you witnessed the last one as a trader? How does the market react? I have to admit, I did not know. I mean, technically, we went into a very, very brief recession during COVID. But no, I have not traded through a proper recession. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if I want to say that that's a fortunate thing. I'm glad that I have not. Let's check out these other ones. AMD. I haven't looked at AMD in a minute. Yeah, see all these flag kind of setups going on here. They are certainly making it look like they want to take things higher, from what I can tell. TSLA. As you can see, there's a little monthly level that I was watching on Tesla here. Let's take a look at Boo. I was going to see if our new channels pattern tool is picking up the flag looks that are going on these guys. I might have them actually turned off. Yeah, I do have it turned off. I don't know if you guys have seen this tool yet, but it's pretty cool. The platform can automatically identify a bunch of different chart patterns. I don't know if this is a relatively new feature to the platform, but we just added the channels as well. So it can automatically identify triangles of different types, double tops, double bottoms, and then ascending, descending, and horizontal channels. You just got to click on the checkbox there, whichever pattern you want it to display for you. And then if it finds it, it will display it. So here's a rising channel coming up on VU here. Totally different look than what you were talking about, but taking into account quite more information as well. Is there any, are there any tickers in particular that you guys are interested in watching for the announcement itself? If you have tuned in with me before, you know, I like to try and get as many tickers that you guys are actually watching on the screen when the announcement hits, so that everybody can keep an eye on the name that they want to keep an eye on. I'm also going to, after the announcement, I'm going to spend a little bit of time. I'm not sure how many TrendSpider users we have in the house. Hopefully we've got a decent number of you guys here. I'll check out mRNA and Microsoft Sonia here in just a moment. I don't know how many TrendSpider users we have in the house. Maybe you guys can let me know. Who of y'all are TrendSpider users? If you have not yet noticed, There are some new features in the strategy tester, specifically, and we can pull them up real quick, within the parameters option. So previously, when you would go to parameters and go to condition, you had three options. You could backtest price conditions, you could backtest indicator conditions, or you could backtest candlestick pattern conditions. Awesome functionality, but leaves a little bit to be desired, right? We kind of want to be able to backtest other things too. We've just added a slew of new items that can be backtested. So these items include earnings dates, dividend dates, split dates, and analyst estimates. So think about, like, have you ever wanted to be able to quickly understand how a stock tends to perform historically X number of days after earnings, maybe 5 days after earnings? How does it usually perform? Before, this was never possible, and now it's possible. And it's a really intuitive, awesome feature, because it can give you that understanding that you just would not have been able to have before if you were ever playing. If you're the type of trader that likes to play earnings results, this can definitely help increase your odds, because it can give you an idea of how often the trade works in either direction, what's the standard move, or what's the average move. It can let you know how often it's worked lately, right? Like maybe the past 3 earnings results, when you went long, it failed on you, or when you went short, it failed on you, or whatever. We can figure these things out now. You can also, for traders who are interested in maybe longer term trading, swing positions, but don't want to be in trades when some of these things happen, an earnings report, or maybe you want to get out of your trade like 5 days before a distribution drops, like a dividend date or something like that. Because, sometimes prices will move higher into the distribution date, and then they'll sell off just after it, or they'll sell off just before it. And maybe as a trader, you want to get out of that. We can calculate all that stuff into a trade now. You can essentially use these things as filters to say, let's just say, for example, you're trading a moving average cross strategy, and you're buying on a moving average cross up and you're selling on the cross down. Well, maybe you're using longer term moving averages, and you want to get out of that trade either on a cross down, or maybe like 5 days before earnings, or 2 days before earnings, or whatever it may be. You could do this now with the strategy tester. So I want to spend some time on the back end of the announcement, probably around it's like a quarter till the hour. I'll probably spend like 10-15 minutes kind of walking you guys through how you can use the strategy tester, how you can use these new parameters within the strategy tester, because there's lots of kind of fun ways to play around with it, and I want to make sure that everybody understands how it works. Jason, hello. Sonia, Dawson, what's up, man? Awesome, Dawson. Thank you for being a user. Jason, also, thank you for being a user. Will 13F filings have a big effect on markets today? Oh, I don't know. Depends on, I imagine, the size of the filing. Depends on the company. Depends on who's behind the 13F. I don't know. Maybe somebody in the audience would have a better answer for you on that. Let's take a look at mRNA real quick. Move these guys. Haven't looked at Moderna in forever. Looks like the platform is identifying a little rising wedge, and that we just broke down from, I don't know, 10 sessions ago, somewhere thereabouts. Whenever I go to a name that I haven't looked at in a while, I like to utilize all of the auto analysis tools, just because it's kind of a simple way to get a quick understanding of what's going on the charts. While we're here, let me show you guys this, because again, like I said, I haven't looked at mRNA in a while, and because I haven't looked at mRNA in a while, my auto analysis tools are very, very outdated. You can see this line right here, this little yellow vertical line. This is called the truth and analysis timestamp, and what it does is it anchors to kind of the last point in time in which I updated. So it anchors all of my auto analysis tools from there. My trend lines, my auto fibs, heat maps, these sorts of things, they're all going to be anchored to a date that's very far in the past. So you can see my fib sequence that it's measuring out for me. It's kind of irrelevant now, right? A lot has happened since this time. So in order to update the auto analysis tools, all you got to do is click on that refresh button, and it's going to bring your truth and analysis line up to the current candle, and it's going to give you the most up-to-date auto analysis on all of the tools. The tools are going to be up to date. So now it's drawing a fib sequence over the truly most recently completed move. I suspect that this might move here in the next couple of days, especially if it continues to gain. It'll start measuring from this high down to this low and reverse the direction of the fibs. But for now, you're breaking down below those lows. Not really what you want to see, right? It's kind of a new low and holding below it too. A couple of closes below it. Not great, but still holding the low that brought you up to the high. So that's kind of good. See what's going on with auto trends here. Yeah, lots of trends from, what is this, the November 2021 high. Is that the all-time high? No, it's the lower high. Okay. Interesting. mRNA. What was the other one? Oh, Berkshire bought Tesla? Really? Let's take a look at that. So if you go to your sidebar, and you go to add or remove, I'm going to turn this off. You go to insider trading, add an insider trading widget. That one's kind of interesting. It's not going to show us Berkshire, but it's going to show us any insiders who are buying and selling, which is, you know, obviously something you might want to know about if you're getting long a particular name. If you've got a bunch of insiders selling when you're thinking about getting long, that might not be the best time. If you got a bunch of insiders buying when you're trying to get long, that might be an interesting thing to know. They say insiders buy for one reason and they sell for 100 reasons, right? Like, you never really know why an insider's selling, but generally speaking, if an insider is buying stock, it's because they think it's going to go up. We can also throw up some news here too. Where's my news? There it is. Be curious to know if there's any news about that, about Berkshire buying Tesla. I believe you, though. That would be very interesting. Where do you have a link to an article, Chris? I would think this would be in the news. Soros Fund Management raises share stake in Tesla by 47.3%. Was it Berkshire or Soros? I feel like both of those names are pretty highly regarded in the market. I'm not seeing anything about Berkshire. But Soros is interesting. So we are about 12 minutes away from the announcement. Hit me with tickers that you guys want to watch. I'm going to start building out a little multi-symbol view for you guys. Now, generally speaking, I keep spying the cues up in the top left corner here. I like to keep an eye on crypto. I don't know how many of you guys are crypto investors, but I like to keep an eye on at least Bitcoin and Ethereum just to see what they do. We got NVDA, got 2 votes for NVDA. Let's throw up some NVDA here. Yep, we got Bitcoin K right here. Here's your Bitcoin chart. Let's throw up Tesla. We'll think about, if we've got room, K, we'll throw up Solana. I like to keep it to 12 names just because 16 starts getting pretty small. I want to make sure you guys can all see. But we might throw up Solana too. Of course, Apple. Have to assume that a lot of these tech names are going to move relatively in tandem with one another. RCL. Is that Royal Caribbean? Yes, it is. Interesting. What's the story with RCL? Haven't been watching that name at all. Throw up Google. All right, I think that's enough tech. Let's get some other sides of the market here. Disney. I'm happy to do 9, but it's going to limit the amount of names that we can all watch. CPI announcement is in 9 minutes. Here's the euro dollar. You're very welcome, THCA. Charbel, we got the euro dollar up for you. What's y'all's favorite way to watch volatility? Outside of VIX index. What's up, M? Davis? Jason, what are you thinking? What about MACD? That's your favorite way to watch volatility? Good morning, M. Hope you're doing well today. Man, thank you guys all for being here. You guys got up early to hang out. I appreciate it. Nice, daily stock picks. Watching me live while you're live. Cool. That's very meta of you. It is early for me. I'm in Colorado. So it is 6:23 right now. Let's see something here. I haven't heard anything about you guys in your trades. How are we trading this morning? Are we sitting on the sidelines? Do you guys have trades on? Do you trade the initial announcement, or do you let things kind of play out? Parker, you've got puts? Puts on what? Jason, you're short too? Ramesh, let's keep an eye. I've got Bitcoin and Ethereum up. Whatever they're doing, Coinbase is likely to do as well. So I'm just going to keep an eye on those two for crypto. All right, so we got a couple of folks who are short. Jason, you're short for now, but you're ready to react. This is the way. Need to be on your toes. Oh, you short microchips. Okay, cool. Prosper, You swung calls overnight. Okay. You sell into the open. All right. K is long. Luis. Why RIP, Luis? What's the story there, sir? 5 minutes. 5-minute warning. If you're trying to trade the move, now is the time to get on your toes. I'm going to switch to the 1 minute here on SPY. Estimate Mason is 6.2. This would be a 0.5% month over month increase. Or no, I'm sorry, 0.5% year over year increase. SPY, February 15th puts, the 406s. Parker, you're looking for a big move. SPY is looking volatile. Ramesh, you're short SPY and you're long NVDA and BA. Okay. Four minutes. For those of you who sit on the sidelines for the announcement, because that's pretty much where my head's at, I'm going to be chilling, hanging out on the sidelines. For those of you who sit on the sidelines, how long do you wait to get in? How do you decide, yeah, it's time? Do you have like big levels drawn somewhere and you just know that if these big levels hit, that's where you're trying to take it long or short? CPI, 3 minutes. All right, Parker. I'm wishing you luck, man. Juan, you let it open. Okay. You start looking for positions 15 minutes after the open. Okay, I am game. VWAP pullback entry. Just like a standard VWAP? You just your daily VWAP, or are you like anchoring from something? Prosper always waits for the market to settle. Not unwise, sir. Karim, Garam, you smash buy or sell. Hey, you know, whatever works for you. FOMO, yeah, I agree, Prosper. FOMO never works. Or it just works very rarely. It's not a good strategy. Luis, trend is your friend. Wise words, sir. Wise words. Standard intraday VWAP. Gotcha. Cool. 6:28, 2 minutes. So I'm thinking, you guys, we'll watch results here for like 10 minutes or something like that. Like we'll probably get the meat of the move in the first 10, 15 minutes. And then we'll spend the last 15 minutes of the hour hanging out talking about strategy testing. Because I really want to show you guys these new features because they're super cool. So all TrendSpider users who are interested in learning a thing or two, or if you're not a TrendSpider user, but you're interested in learning a thing or two about the platform and kind of what it's capable of doing, we're going to spend some time on the strategy tester going over some new features that allow you to utilize earnings and things like this to get into and out of trades. Berkeley holding positions in Dollar Tree, Amazon, Google, Tesla. Good luck to you, Berkeley. Jason, we're about to find out what happens with 6.2. You're saying what happens if we're in line? Could be a nothing burger. Don't know. Bunch of you guys here this morning means a ton. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Looks like they're trying to early move. Here we go. Here's the move. Parker, your 406 puts here. Not looking so bad just yet. So what was the move, y'all? Or what was the announcement? Actually, I should just get on Twitter and see, huh? 6.4. Okay. You know, there was a lot of concern about this thing being hotter than expected. Euro dollar down. Disney, everything is down. What's up right now? VIX is probably up a little bit. Now comes the question, does the market shrug it off? That initial move is pretty ugly. Talking almost 1% on SPY. Trying to bounce here, though. Be interesting to see if they're able to hold this. Push it higher.
Order filled.
Looks like they're pushing it higher. Interesting, interesting. Those puts not looking so good anymore. Dang, they're ripping it now, huh, guys? I don't know what's going on with crypto, but the crypto charts are not moving. I wonder if our crypto data is, if our provider is not happy right now. Dang, they're ripping it now, y'all. Holy moly. What are they going for? They're going for February 7th highs here, it looks like. At least on SPY. Or on ES. I've got ES on a different chart here. Yeah, I'm going for those February 7th or February 7th highs. They just took those. Almost anyway. Going for all the stops up there. Probably a ton of them. Watch us get like just a nice big giant doji candle. Big old indecision. Yeah, so Prosper, if you're not sure how to feel, don't feel anything. Bradley, how are you playing this morning? Did you take longs at the low? I bet you did. My friend Bread911. Everybody say hello to Bread. One of the best traders out there that I know. Bread911. Lewis, RIP shorts. J Powell says, F your puts. Should you sell the pop at the open? I don't know. I think do what feels right for you. What's your plan? What was your plan before you got into it? Or are you not in a trade yet? Are you thinking about how to trade the open? Always take profit. Always. Yes, I would agree with you on that, Prosper. To add to that, though, I would also say let your trades work. Understand your plan for your trade ahead of taking it. Understand as much as you can about it before you take it. Understand where you're wrong. Understand where you're right. Understand where you want to see price go. Have it all planned out. Having a strategy is the key. Winging it is not the key. Yeah, the market really shrugging this thing off. So what does that say then? If the market is shrugging off a higher than expected inflation number, that's interesting, right? Because we all anticipate that a higher than expected inflation number would be grounds for the Fed to continue raising interest rates. And yet the market is strong into it. Now we're only a few minutes in, right? You're only 6 minutes in. So this could just be a very short-term move that could change direction anytime. But it's interesting nonetheless to see that the markets are strong into that number when you would really anticipate the opposite of that, right? You would anticipate a hotter CPI print shouldn't make the markets move higher. But markets don't always make sense, do they? They rarely make sense. Really, L77? You think the market expected worse, even though the consensus was 6.2? Yeah, Isaiah, you think by the end of the day we're in a much worse position? Certainly possible, man. It's certainly possible. We are slowly forming that giant doji candle that we spoke about initially. At least on the SPY. I mean, I imagine the Qs are the same deal. You can go to a bigger time frame and kind of see what's going on there. Yep. There's a big giant question mark. The market doesn't know. So what do? They take out stops on both sides, and then they close it dead in the center. Isn't that always the way? Tighten up here so we can see this a little bit better. Parker's puts starting to look a little bit better again. Those 406s. Thank you, Bradley. I appreciate that, man. Cool you're watching on your TV. JP Morgan shared yesterday CPI 6.4 to 6.5. Yeah, right. They were anticipating, interesting, everything Tate. They were anticipating a move of 0.75% to 1.5% lower. Still cooled for the 7th straight month. See, that's another interesting perspective, right? It's hotter than expected, but we've been cooling for 7 months, which isn't bad. It's just happening very slowly. Yeah, Prosper with the question of the day there. Do we really listen to the bankers? Should we really listen to the bankers? Probably not. Should we listen to consensus at all? I would argue that it's a pretty decent idea to fade consensus most of the time. All right, so we've had the move lower. We've had the move higher. And now we're almost back to where we started from. General market seems pretty tame for now. I agree, Brad. Yeah, I mean that's something to think about too. You know, for so long these moves have been so powerful. It would be interesting if that changed, you know? It'd be interesting if some of these news items don't move markets like they did last year. You know, there's been lots of talk about CPI potentially not being as important to markets or not being as much of a market mover these days or this year even as potentially something like the jobs numbers. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, it's still early, right? We're only at the middle of February. Still plenty of time to see how that goes. But last year's CPI was all the rage. Huge moves on CPI. Now, this isn't a very huge move at all. Looks like they're trying to hold lows. I'm just looking at SPY here. SPY and Qs. Looks like they're trying to hold lows. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with crypto here. Okay, there we go. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, so crypto also trying to hold. I'm gonna go to the minute chart here. Oh, Jason, stop spamming caps. No worries, Jason. That's an automatic thing. I don't control all that. Oh no. Nightbot. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know what you just said, Barrow. I think you were talking about Bitcoin being down like 1% or something. 1.5%, I think is what you said. Yeah, lowercase and no, I guess no dollar sign, no dollar signs before ticker symbols. I'm not really sure how to control the Nightbot. I'm sure there's a way. I'm sure there's like some settings that I could change in there. All right, so we're 15 minutes away, 17 minutes away from the end of the show here. We've got a few minutes. Do you guys want to learn this stuff about the strategy tester? I really want to show y'all. If you're TrendSpider users, I think this could be very helpful for you. Is anybody interested in learning some things about the strategy tester? Or do we want to just keep on watching? Do you guys want to keep on watching or do you want to learn about the strat tester? Keep on watching tickers. M. Davis, is that keep on watching tickers or is that learn about the strat tester? Jason wants to learn about the strat tester. L7 wants to keep watching. Robert wants to learn. M. Davis, strat tester. We got 3 for the strat tester. We got 4 for the strat tester. I mean, that's more than enough for me to start working on the strat tester. I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep up. Tell me what ticker you guys want me to have up while we're doing this. Because I want to make sure you're watching something you want to watch. Maybe like SPY, QQQ. Do you have a preference? We can keep the minute chart rolling. I mean, we'll still be able to watch and see what's going on. Berkeley says Amazon. Amazon is essentially the Qs. I think we should watch something big. A big ETF. SPY or the Qs. You pick. USA Coinbase. I'm going to keep up SPY. No, I'm going to put up the Qs. Y'all seem kind of tech heavy here. So I'm going to throw up the Qs. All right, let's talk about the strat tester. For any TrendSpider users who have not yet used the strat tester, what does it do? Well, it allows you to test strategies and see how they perform historically. We're talking about price strategies. We're talking about indicator strategies. We're talking about candle-based strategies, and anything in between, right? Like you can use price conditions, you can use indicator conditions, you can use candlestick pattern conditions, and you can input entry and exit criteria and say, when this happens, I want to get into a trade. And when that happens, I want to get out of this trade. I don't want to be in it anymore when this happens. You can test back up to 7,000 candles on any time frame and see, historically, how does this name perform when these things occur? So I want to start with something very basic. The first thing that I want to start with is the parameters, the new parameters that we've just added. I was talking about it at the top of the show. If you click on add parameter, go to condition, and you scroll down, you see we got these new options here: earnings dates, dividend dates, split dates, analyst estimates. And I mentioned at the top of the show, one thing that everybody wants to do is everybody wants to play earnings. Most people don't. Most people are wise in the sense that they know that earnings are a crapshoot, and so they just stay on the sidelines because, hey, why would I get into a trade if I don't know what's going to happen? Well, this is one way to learn about what has happened historically. So you can actually backtest and see when there's an earnings date on this particular name, how does it perform over, let's say, a period of time. To me, what makes sense is you buy, you enter in on an earnings date, and then you sell maybe a period of days later. Maybe it's 3 days, maybe it's 5 days, maybe it's 10 days. At least you test this because you just want to know how it tends to perform when there's an earnings. So let's do it. I'm actually going to have to go to a different chart to do this because obviously there's no earnings on the Qs. But what we do is we click earnings dates and we say today. That's it. How simple is that? So we've just now defined that our entry is earnings when there are earnings. Now we have to define our out. Why are we getting out of this trade, or when are we getting out of this trade? So the simplest way to do this, in my opinion, the simplest way to start thinking about using this parameter in your back testing is by getting out after a certain number of candles have passed. Like I said, so we'll click a certain number of candles have passed, and then we can make this whatever we want. Let's just say 10 days. Super simple. I'm going to switch this to a standard name. I'm going to go to Tesla because everyone loves Tesla. And then, like I said, we need to change how far back we're looking. So I'm going to go to the chart here. I'm going to click where it says data. This is how we determine how far back we're looking. We can choose to look back 1,000 candles, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, so on, all the way to 7. So I'm going to go 7,000 candles, and I'm going to switch this to the daily time frame. So we're looking back 7,000 candles. We're looking on the daily time frame. And so I'm going to zoom out here. Let me move this. And you can see on my chart these vertical dashed lines. Vertical dashed lines are earnings dates. So obviously we're entering in on the close of that earnings date. And then we're exiting 10 candles later. Super, super simple. That's the only rule, right? And we could add way more rules to this. And we'll talk about some ideas for rules you could add for your entry. But the very first thing that we were just wanting to do is we're wanting to test and see how the stock performs historically after earnings. 10 days, specifically 10 days after earnings. So on the tabular data side, we could see a list of information about this strategy. The strategy is not that good, is the reality. But let's talk about why it's not that good. Actually, yeah, it's not that good. First of all, on all of these tabular data values, there's a chance that you might see this red highlighting over some of the values. This red highlighting is what we call no-go highlighting. And this no-go highlighting is not meant to be taken as a suggestion. It's meant to be taken as a hard stop. If you see no-go highlighting, that is a problem. You have a fundamental problem in your back test that you need to resolve. So in this case, we have 43 positions. We believe that 50 positions is the minimum for any decent back test to get a good understanding of how the results are, the validity of the results. If you don't have at least 50 positions, you don't have enough data to say yes or no, this is a decent strategy. So the first problem here is we only have 43 positions, so 43 earnings dates in the last 7,000 candles. Now, for the sake of this very, very particular strategy, that doesn't necessarily matter because, again, we're just trying to figure out how this thing performs historically. We can see on the chart past three earnings results. After the past three earnings results, things have been pretty good. We had a 33.5% move within 10 candles of this most recent one. We had a 3.3% move last earnings. We had a 22.5% move the previous earnings before that. And then so on and so on. You could go back and look at this. On the right-hand side, again, tabular data. What do we see? 58% of the time, you're 58% of the time you're higher 10 days later than you were at the earnings. So that's kind of interesting to know. Your average win is almost 10.5%, or a little more than 10.5%. Your average loss is 6%, for an average return of about 3.62. So on average, you're 3.62% higher on average 10 days after an earnings report from Tesla. That's a really interesting data point, right? Like, how would you get that data point any other way? And we just like very instantly found it. Your risk reward 1.76, so not that great. You really want, you kind of really want a higher risk reward ratio than that. But you know, your how much you win and how often you win can help you mitigate your risk reward. So it's something to consider. It's not bad, but the higher the risk reward ratio, kind of the better off for you, you know? So that's kind of interesting. And we could go down the line here. Tesla, we could go, you know, let's see how Google does. If you have a list of names that you want to test, you can very quickly do it just by popping in those names. Maybe you can just scroll down through your list, your watch list or whatever. You're going to notice this. Now see how I switched to a new name, and I've got all these new data points on the right-hand side. I don't just have the tabular data, these values here, I have all these new data points on the right. So these new data points are the change in these values from the previous test. So it's essentially how Google compares to Tesla. Well, clearly Google performs way worse, relatively speaking, than Tesla does 10 days after earnings. And that's kind of interesting to know too. If you're trying to decide, do I want to go long Tesla earnings or do I want to go long Google earnings? This is a very quick way of determining I want to go long Tesla earnings if you just had to choose between those two concepts, right? Not necessarily that you would do either of them, but just if you had to choose, right? Gun to your head. So we know that you take less positions. We could see 7 less positions. Your win rate went down 16% on Google relative to Tesla. So your win rate on Google is 42%. Your max drawdown actually went up almost 12%. So like these values are not good. And you have a bunch of no-go highlighting again. So a bunch of things telling you, hey, yeah, don't do this. This is not a good way to trade this name. Now, again, like I said, you can add stuff to this. You can say, I only want to go long earnings if maybe price is above the 200 SMA, right? Like maybe you use price above the 200 SMA as your barometer for whether or not you want to be long anything. We can add it. We can say condition, price close, greater than, indicator, SMA, and we'll make this to 200. So now not only are we going long, or now we're not just going long on an earnings date, on any earnings date. Now we're only going long on earnings if price is above the 200 SMA. And we're going to run this, and we're going to get a whole new data set here. Does that change anything? Does price above the 200 change anything on this particular name? Well, clearly not really, right? Like price being above the 200 here on Google doesn't really help it all that much. You definitely take less positions. Your win rate goes down even more. Your average win went down. Your average return went down. Your average loss went up. This is not good stuff. So clearly this is not the way to go. So maybe you want to switch it. Maybe you want to try to short Google on its earnings. When you short Google on its earnings, your win rate goes way up. It's still your position. You still haven't taken enough positions. Your win rate is not high enough relative to your risk reward. There's still issues. You still got a bunch of no-go highlighting. So it's still letting you know, hey, this isn't the best idea, but at least now we've increased our odds, right? Things are a little bit better for us in this way. Go back to Tesla. I'm going to imagine that the results are relatively similar on Tesla above the 200. But I'm showing you this so that you can think about how to factor it in, how you can think about using some of these limiting factors or these limiting parameters to like fine tune. The last way that I want to express this idea before we get out of here, because we've only got about 5 minutes left, is not only can you test what happens after earnings. Remember, I was saying you can use, there's a lot of traders out there that don't want to be in positions during earnings. They want to get out of their positions maybe once an earnings result has happened, or they want to get out maybe a few days before an earnings result or something like that. So let's just say, for example, your strategy, I'm going to do something very simple. I'm going to do like some kind of cross up. We'll use a simple moving average, crossing up on indicator, simple moving average. And we'll say like the 8 and the 21. Maybe we want to go long on the 8, crossing up on the 21. And we want to get out of this trade when the opposite happens, right? So the SMA crossing down on indicator SMA. So you've got 8 and 21. So we're going long on the 8 crossing up on the 21. We're going short on the 8 crossing down on the 21. We can run this strategy very quickly. It's going to run the test for us. It's going to show us all the times when we've gotten into and out of this trade. Trade doesn't work that bad. 86 positions. Notice there's no-go highlighting here. So in theory, this strategy is sound, right? We've deemed this strategy as sound. You've taken enough positions. Your win rate is not that great, but your average return is high enough that it counters your low win rate. So you've got a 37% win rate, but your average return is almost 11%. Your risk reward ratio is 7.2. That's a really high risk reward ratio. Essentially, that's saying you only have to win 1 out of 7 trades in order for this strategy to work in the long term. And we're testing it on the daily. We're testing it back 7,000 candles. There's a lot of data here to suggest this. But let's say we want to get out of this trade maybe like 5 days before an earnings result, right? We can utilize this extra function or this extra parameter. We can say condition. We could say earnings date, and then within the next X days, right? And we could say 5. And all we need to do is we need to go to all the following and change it to any. So now we're saying on the exit side, we're either exiting when the 8 crosses down on the 21, or we're exiting 5 days before earnings. Either or, if either of those things is true, I want to get out of this trade. And we can run it and we could see when we get in, when we get out. Now, our values, they comparatively are not as good. All of the results have gone down. This is interesting, right? This is interesting for one, because most traders want to get out during earnings, right? Or they don't want to be involved in a stock before earnings. This might show you that maybe actually that's not the best idea. This could potentially show you that that is the best idea, that you do want to get out before earnings. The idea here is specifically just to help you use some of these kind of alternative data points to really thoroughly understand your strategy, right? Like, if you are going to trade the markets, it is best for you to have a strategy that you stick to. Not just that you stick to, but almost that you're hands off on. We provide lots of tools that allow you essentially to test and see how your strategies work. Once you've proven out a strategy, maybe you've deemed, hey, I want to take that 821 cross strategy on Tesla. I want to take that live and do that. We offer tools that allow you to like completely hands off with our trading bots, with our other products, Signal Stack. You can essentially automate this whole process, and then you can take your hands off the wheel, you can go live your life, and you can let the platform kind of do all of this for you. But what the root of this all is, or the root of where it all starts, is right here in the backtester, helping you understand the reality of your trades. If you have not started, or the reality of your strategy, if you have not started playing around with the strategy tester in the platform, but you do have a rules-based approach to your strategy, you're not taking trades willy-nilly, you're not taking trades because you think something is going to happen. If you're taking trades because you have a defined approach, take your defined approach and plug it in to the strategy tester here and go back and test it and see how it all works. Play around with those entry and exit criteria. adjusting little things here and there. Let the no-go highlighting kind of be your guide as to whether or not a strategy is completely up to form. If you're getting no-go highlighting, you need to adjust little things to remove that no-go highlighting, because again, that stuff is telling you, or that highlighting is telling you that there's something that's fundamentally not sound about your strategy. Your strategy is going to come back and bite you in the ass, is what that's saying. So don't let it do that. The whole point of that tool is to not let it do that. So hopefully guys, that helps you understand how to utilize some of these new parameters. And again, you can take those parameters in any direction you want. You can utilize them in lots of different ways. I focused on earnings, but you could say things like enter when a very, very specific analyst has an upgrade on this particular stock. Now, you're very likely to get a lot less results, but you might be able to start learning about how a particular analyst affects the moves in a particular stock. That might be kind of interesting to see. I haven't played around with it. I don't follow personally any specific analysts, but you can come in and you can like refine and hone the specific analyst, like the company that they work for, the action that they take, whether it was an upgrade or a downgrade, a confirm and initiate, whether they upgraded to a buyer, downgraded to a seller, whatever. You can fine tune the parameter here to whatever you want. And you might be able to find some really interesting data. So with that, hopefully I explained that well. Hopefully you guys took that and understood that pretty well. And hopefully you find that to be helpful. I am going to get out of here. My time is up. It has been a pleasure. Where are we at, actually? I kind of want to see. Turn off the strat tester here, see where we're at on things. Haven't been watching. Oops. Okay, so trying to hold lows. Just consolidating. They're waiting for that bell to ding, aren't they? Well, okay, so guys, again, it has been such a pleasure hanging out with you. I really appreciate you all being here and hanging out. Specifically, I appreciate everybody who is here right now, because y'all who are here right now, you are here to learn something. You guys know that whenever I go live, I try and give you all a takeaway. I try and give you guys something that you can make actionable on the platform. So today we learned about these new parameters in the strategy tester. I hope that you found it helpful. I hope that it helps you going forward. Please take the time to play around with the strategy tester. If you have not yet done that, this is maybe the most powerful tool on the platform. It's kind of where you should start from with everything that you do. There are so many strategies out there. There are so many people pointing to this indicator, that indicator. I'm taking a long on the bounce of this or the bounce of that. Price bounce on the VWAP. Let's go long. Like in real time, you can test these things and see how they actually perform. You don't have to just take things blind. You don't have to trade blindly. You can back test your strategies to figure out how they actually work. You will be surprised. When you start backtesting, you will be surprised. Strategies that you thought were awesome might not be as awesome as you think. And strategies that seem very simple might actually perform quite better than you could have ever imagined. They might perform better than the asset over time. They might perform better than you're performing right now. But the only way that you're going to know is if you take the time, if you spend the time in the strategy tester playing around and trying different things out. So please, I encourage you all, take the time. If you have any questions about the strat tester, about, coming up with strategies or whatever, my DMs are always open. You can always hit me up. My Twitter handle over here, just it's like down here in this way, at Krutzky Trades. My DMs are always open. Feel free to message me anytime if you have questions about the platform. I'm here to help you guys learn it. And yeah, it's been a pleasure hanging out with y'all. Barrow, thank you so much for being here. Luis, Robert, M. Davis, Jason, Berkeley, Brad, Maria, Parker, VM Matt, who else? Keith. Yeah, I appreciate all of you guys. Greg Mitchell rather. Thank you guys all for being here, hanging out with me this morning. If you're trading today, be safe out there. Let the market come to you. No FOMO. Backtest some things. See what happens. Yeah, that's what I got. So I'm going to say sayonara. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I hope you have a lovely day with your significant other. If you have one, treat them nice today. and trade them well, guys. We will see you all very soon. As well, I will be live today on Twitter talking with my friend Rahul Ramjani. He and I are going to be hanging out with a bunch of folks, talking about where we're at the end of the day. We'll be live for Power Hour. So if you're on Twitter, please feel free to join the conversation. We've got a handful of technical and fundamental traders, investors coming on to kind of talk about, their thoughts on the CPI print, what their expectations are going forward. Should be a fun little hour of hangout time with a bunch of smart folks. So if you're around, join us. If not, have a great rest of your day. Again, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you for being here, and we will see you all very soon. Take care.